Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we embark on a fascinating journey into the world of relations, one of the most fundamental concepts in discrete mathematics that bridges abstract mathematical thinking with real world connections. Before we dive into formal definitions, let's think about relations in everyday life. When we say John is the brother of Mary, or 5 is less than 8, or Delhi is the capital of India, we are describing relationships between pairs of objects. In mathematics, we formalize these intuitive ideas into what we call relations. So, a relation is simply a connection or association between elements of two sets. More precisely, if we have two sets A and B, a relation R from A to B is a subset of the Cartesian product A cross B. Now, when both sets are the same, that is, when A equals B, we call this a binary relation on A. This is the most common type of relation we will work with, and it's where the real mathematical beauty emerges. Let me illustrate this with a concrete example. Consider the set A equals with the elements 1, 2, and 3. A sample binary relation R might be R equals 1, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 1. This tells us that 1 is related to 2, 2 is related to itself, and 3 is related to 1. But how do we visualize and work with relations? There are three powerful representations. First, the directed graph or digraph. Each element of our set becomes a vertex, and each ordered pair in our relation becomes a directed arrow. For example, we would have arrows from 1 to 2, from 2 to itself, that will be a loop, and from 3 to 1. Second is the matrix representation. We create a square matrix where entry ij is 1 if ij is in our relation, and otherwise it will be 0. This is particularly useful for computational work. Third, the relation table. A simple two-column table listing all the ordered pairs in our relation. Each representation has its advantages. Graphs help us visualize patterns, matrices enable efficient computation, and tables provide clear enumeration. Now that we understand what relations are, let's explore the fascinating properties that make some relations special and mathematically significant. These properties aren't just abstract mathematical curiosities, they capture fundamental patterns that appear throughout mathematics, computer science, and real-world applications. Let's begin with reflexive relations. A relation R on set A is reflexive if every element is related to itself. Formally, for all A in A and A belongs to R. Think about this intuitively. Consider the relation is equal to on the set of real numbers. Every number is equal to itself, so this relation is reflexive. Similarly, is a subset of on a collection of sets is reflexive because every set is a subset of itself. For R, set A equals 1, 2, 3, and the given relation is reflexive. In graph terms, this means every vertex has a loop pointing to itself. The opposite concept is irreflexive relations, where no element is related to itself. The relation is less than on real numbers is irreflexive because no number is less than itself. Next, let's examine symmetric relations. A relation R is symmetric if whenever A is related to B, then B is also related to A. The classic example is friendship in social network. If Alice is a friend of Bob, then Bob is a friend of Alice. In our mathematical notation, R 1, 2 and 2, 1 is symmetric because the relation works both ways. Visually, in a directed graph, symmetry means that arrow comes in pairs. Every arrow from vertex A to vertex B is accompanied by an arrow from B back to A. Antisymmetric relations present an interesting contrast. A relation is antisymmetric if whenever both AB and BA are in a relation, then A must equal B. In other words, two different elements cannot be mutually related. Consider the relation is less than or equal to on real numbers. If x is less than equal to y and y is less than equal to x, then x must be equal y. The relation R given on our set 1, 2, 3 is antisymmetric because there's no pair of distinct elements that are mutually related. Finally, we have transitive relations, perhaps the most conceptually rich property. A relation R is transitive if whenever A is related to B and B is related to C, then A must be related to C. Think of this as the chain rule for relations. If we can go from A to C through B, then there should be a direct connection from A to C. The relation is an ancestor of is transitive. If Alice is an ancestor of Bob and Bob is an ancestor of Charlie, then Alice is an ancestor of Charlie. Let me give you a visual memory aid for these properties. Reflexive, every node has a self-loop. Symmetric, arrows work both ways, bidirectional. Antisymmetric, arrows are one way only unless it's a self-loop. Transitive, triangle closure exists. If you can go A to B to C, then A to C exists. These properties can combine in various ways, and recognizing these combinations is crucial for understanding more advanced mathematical structures. Now we arrive at one of the most important and beautiful concepts in discrete mathematics, equivalence relations. These relations capture our intuitive notion of when things are essentially the same from some particular perspective. An equivalence relation is a relation that satisfies three properties simultaneously. First, reflexive. Every element is equivalent to itself. Second, symmetric. If A is equivalent to B, then B is equivalent to A. Transitive. If A is equivalent to B and B is equivalent to C, then A is equivalent to C as well. So let me demonstrate why this combination is so powerful with a concrete example. Consider the set A with elements 1, 2, 3, and 4 and define relation R as shown. Let's verify this is an equivalence relation. Reflexive check. We have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 4. So every element relates to itself. Symmetric check. We have both 1, 3, and 3, 1. And all of the pairs are self-relations, which are automatically symmetric. Transitive check. We need to verify that if AB and BC are in the relation R, then AC is also in R. The only non-trivial case is 1, 3 and 3, 1, which would require 1, 1, and indeed 1, 1 is in R. So R is indeed an equivalence relation. But why are equivalence relations so important? Because they formalize the idea of classification. Just as we might classify students by their major or classify geometric shapes by their number of sides, equivalence relations allows us to group elements that are equivalent in some meaningful way. Think about modular arithmetic. When we work modulo 5, we consider 7 and 12 equivalent because they have the same remainder when divided by 5. This congruence modulo n relation is a classic equivalence relation that's fundamental to number theory and cryptography. Another example is consider the relation on the set of all triangles where two triangles are related if they have the same area. This is an equivalence relation that groups triangles by area regardless of the shape or orientation. The power of equivalence relations lies in their ability to partition sets into meaningful categories, which brings us to our next crucial concept. Once we have an equivalence relation, we can use it to create what mathematicians call equivalence classes. Beautiful mathematical structures that capture the essence of classification. Given an equivalence relation R on set A, the equivalence class of an element A belongs to A is defined as shown. In other words, the equivalence class of A contains all elements that are equivalent to A. Let's explore this with a compelling example. Consider set A and define R as the relation that connects numbers with the same parity. Now let's find the equivalence classes. Notice something remarkable here. Element 1 equals element 3 and element 2 equals element 4. This isn't a coincidence. It's a fundamental property of equivalence classes. If two elements are equivalent, they have identical equivalence classes. This gives us the partition of our original set A. The set A has been cleanly divided into two non-overlapping subsets based on our equivalence relation. This partitioning property is profound. Every equivalence relation on a set creates a partition of that set into disjoint equivalence classes. Conversely, every partition of a set defines a natural equivalence relation where elements are equivalent if and only if they belong to the same part of the partition. Let me give you a real-world analogy. Think of a university student body. We could define an equivalence relation where two students are equivalent if they are in the same academic year. This creates equivalence classes such as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Every student belongs to exactly one class, and the classes together contain all students. This connection between equivalence relations and partitions is one of the most elegant examples of how abstract mathematical concepts mirror our intuitive understanding of classification and organization. It's used extensively in computer science for tasks like graph coloring, database design, and algorithm optimization. Our final topic today explores closure operations, powerful tools that allows us to systematically add the minimum number of pairs to a relation to give it desired properties. The concept of closure addresses this question. Given a relation R that lacks a certain property, what's the smallest relation containing R that does not have that property? We are looking for minimal extensions that preserve all existing relationships while adding just enough new ones to achieve our goal. Let's start with reflexive closure. If we have a relation R on set A that isn't reflexive, its reflexive closure is the smallest reflexive relation containing R. The construction is straightforward. Add all missing pairs of the form A and A for each A belongs to R. Then we have symmetric closure. Follows similar logic. If R contains AB but not BA, we add BA to achieve the symmetry. Lastly is transitive closure. It is one of the most complex and interesting of the three. If R contains AB and BC but not AC, we must add AC. But here's the twist. Adding new pairs might create new transitivity requirements. For computational purposes, especially with matrix representations, we use Warshall's algorithm to efficiently compute transitive closure. This algorithm systematically considers each vertex as an intermediate point and updates the relation matrix accordingly. The beauty of closure operations lies in their minimality. They add exactly what's needed, nothing more. This makes them invaluable in computer science applications like computing reachability in graphs, database query optimization, and program analysis. Moreover, these closures can be combined. The equivalence closure of a relation is obtained by taking its reflexive, symmetric, and transitive closures. This gives us the smallest equivalence relation containing our original relation. Before we conclude, let me highlight some compelling real-world applications of the concepts we have covered. Equivalence classes are fundamental to computer science and data analysis. In machine learning, we use equivalence relations to group similar data points. In programming, we use them for optimization. If two expressions are equivalent, we can substitute one for the other. In database design, equivalence classes help identify redundancies and normalize data structures. Then comes reflexive relations, model identity, and self-inference. In social networks, reflexive relations might represent self-awareness or self-referential properties. In computer graphics, reflexive transformations include identity mapping. Then we have symmetric relations, naturally model mutual relationships. Friendship networks, trade partnerships, and communication links are all naturally symmetric. Understanding symmetry helps us analyze network properties and design efficient algorithms. Transitive relations capture hierarchical structures and reachability. Family trees, organizational charts, and prerequisite relationships in academic courses are all transitive. In computer science, transitive closure algorithms are essential for pathfinding and reachability analysis in graphs. Closure operations appear throughout algorithm design. Computing transitive closure helps us solve problems in graph theory, network analysis, and database query processing. Understanding these operations is crucial for anyone working with relational databases or graph algorithms. So, today we have seen how relations provide a mathematical framework for understanding connections, classifications, and hierarchies. From the basic definition of a relation through the sophisticated machinery of equivalence classes and closure operations, we have built a comprehensive toolkit for analyzing relationships in mathematical and real world contexts. So that's all for this video. If you found this helpful, don't forget to give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel to help us grow. And I will see you in the next video with some other topic on discrete mathematics. Till then, happy learning.